2023 was a pretty interesting year for Apple. A lot of ups and a lot of downs, and so today I'm going to wrap them all up into a tier list. We have S all the way to F tier, and we're going to see which products land in which places. Now, I'm going to go through this a bit quickly because I accidentally recorded this video without screen recording, and so yeah, I'm going to go through this a bit quickly. So let's get started with all the January releases. I'm going to start with the M2 Pro and M2 Max series MacBook Pros. These were pretty good when they first launched, and so they would have been A tier if they hadn't been replaced only 9 months later. And so I give them B tier right now, but they have gotten pretty decent, especially with all the discounts they've had now that they've been discontinued for a little bit. And so yeah, B tier for the M2 Pro and M2 Max MacBook Pro. The M2 Pro Mac Mini, I give this a pretty solid A tier because the Mac Mini with M2 got cheaper than the M1 model, and so yeah, this is a really good value. M2 Pro Mac Mini is also really good value. And oh yeah, I forgot to mention, this tier list design that you're seeing is not made by me. It's actually made by Basic Apple Guy. He makes some really good stuff, really good wallpapers. I'll leave his stuff down below in the description, and you can download this if you want to as well. So yeah, that's the M2 Mac Mini in A tier. Next up, you got the 2023 HomePod. I put this at C tier because it's a very confusing product. All things considered, it's a very confusing product in Apple's lineup. It's the same price as the old HomePod, and it's a little bit worse, and it's not really it's not really like, it's just confusing. It's just very confusing. So that's the 2023 HomePod at C tier. The yellow iPhone 14, I also give this a C tier. I actually really like the yellow color, but it's the last Lightning iPhone, and so because of that, it's still an iPhone 14, and so the iPhone 14 was just not that big of an upgrade, and so yeah, C tier for that. Yeah, that's the yellow iPhone 14. Now we have all the WWDC stuff. We got the 15-inch MacBook Air. I'm gonna give this a pretty solid A tier. Could be considered best product of the year. But yeah, the 15-inch MacBook Air was pretty good, especially with its incredible value. Like, you can get this thing now for like $1,000, I think. It's really good value. Obviously on the secondhand market, you can get it for a lot cheaper. Third-party resellers, you can get it a lot cheaper. It's just really good value. So yeah, A tier for 15-inch MacBook Air. The M2 Max, M2 Ultra Max Studio, it would have been A tier, but the M3 Max MacBook Pro is really close in performance to the M2 Ultra, and that is an entire laptop. And so I give it B tier right now. And if you're considering buying a Mac Studio, I'd say either buy the M2 Max model, but if you're considering buying the M2 Ultra, I'd say either buy the M3 Max MacBook Pro right now, or wait for the M3 Max, M3 Ultra Mac Studio, I'd say. Yeah, so that's the Mac Studio. All right, Mac Pro, I don't think I need to explain this much. It's just the Mac Studio, but like 14 times bigger, and it has PCIe slots. I'm going to give it F tier because it's just, nobody should buy it unless you really, really need PCIe expansion. So yeah, F tier for Mac Pro. And now we have all our Apple software releases. We got iOS 17. When it first came out, I actually didn't like iOS 17 because it was not that big of an upgrade over iOS 16. But using it a bit more, it grew on me. I really like the name drop feature. I also really like the AirDrop feature, kind of like the bump feature that Apple made fun of 10 years ago. But yeah, iOS 17 I'm going to give a pretty good B tier for. Not that big of an upgrade, but it's just overall a solid upgrade, I'd say. iOS 18 should hopefully be a whole lot bigger. Video on that coming soon. Alright, next up we got iPadOS 17. iPadOS, just for the past few years, has just been slacking. I'm going to give this a D tier, pretty close to F tier, honestly, because iPadOS 17 is just, only big change was just the fact that it has the iOS 16 lock screen, and that's about it. So it's just, yeah, it's just very disappointing upgrade. D tier for iPadOS 17. Then you have macOS Sonoma. macOS Sonoma is obviously what I'm using right now. I'll give it a solid A tier, honestly. It's a really good upgrade. You got the new video conferencing features, the new wallpaper, screensavers. All that stuff is really good. So yeah, A tier for Sonoma. Really good upgrade. You got tvOS 17. I'm actually going to give this a B tier because tvOS 17 was a really good upgrade. It's the only upgrade that I didn't get to experience because I don't have an Apple TV. But you have the continuity camera, you have the redesigned control center, and you have the Find My for Siri remote. And so it's overall really good upgrade. So yeah, best upgrade for tvOS that we've had in a while. And it's available for all Apple TV models since the 4th gen from 2015. WatchOS 10. Before I got it, I didn't really like the changes because they remapped the side button to be the control center rather than the app switcher. They remapped, obviously, the app switcher to double click of the digital crown. And it was also considered about battery life. Battery life at launch was terrible. It still kind of is terrible, but not as terrible as what it was. So before, I'd probably give it D, C, maybe even F tier. When it started to grow on me with the terrible battery life, I'd give it B tier. Now with the better battery life, I'd give it A tier. It's pretty solid upgrade, all things considered. So, yeah. Alright, that's all WWDC stuff. Now let's get to all the September announcements. Starting with Apple Watch Series 9. No longer available for sale in the US for the time being, but it's still available worldwide. And so I give a Series 9 B tier. It's not a big upgrade. It's not a big upgrade at all. But it's a bigger upgrade than Series 8 for sure. Bigger upgrade than Series 8. You have the new double tap feature, which should be available on older watches. You got the faster S9 SIP, and you got the on-device Siri, which I think is really good. And so, yeah, I give B tier for Series 9, but it's just not a big upgrade. Ultra 2, though, I'm going to give a C tier, because the Ultra 2 is still, a really good product, one of Apple's best products, but it's just not a big upgrade at all, and so C tier. And, yeah, both of these watches are no longer available in the US, so, yeah, unfortunate, but yeah. Alright, iPhone 15 and 15 Plus, I gave these an A tier because they're much bigger upgrade than the 14 and 14 Plus, and they have USB-C finally. That's worth the upgrade alone, honestly. And so, yeah, A tier for 15 Plus. I forgot to actually bring these up. The USB-C AirPods Pro, I give these a B tier because USB-C AirPods Pro, obviously you have USB-C now. You have the IP54 water and dust resistance in the case, and you also have lossless audio coming for Vision Pro on these, which is a really impressive achievement. So, yeah, B tier for USB-C AirPods Pro, although very misleading name. It's way more than just USB-C. They just call them AirPods Pro 3rd Gen. It's a very complicated name now because the official product name, I believe, is AirPods Pro 2nd Generation with MagSafe charging case, parentheses, USB-C. Just terrible naming, so yeah. And you have iPhone 15 Pro. Bit of a rocky launch at first, but I think these were a bit more of an impactful upgrade than the 14 Pro, so I'm going to give these A tier with the A17 Pro chip, USB-C, titanium. You have 5x zoom on the 15 Pro Max and thinner bezels, all that stuff. It's a really good upgrade. So yeah, A tier for those. Then you have the USB-C Apple Pencil. I give this a C tier because I still think it's a pretty decent product, but it's just not that exciting. And yeah, it's just not that exciting. So I give it a C tier. And this is technically really the only iPad sort of hardware that we've got this year. There's no iPads at all this year. And so, yeah, it's a very disappointing year for iPads, because not only did we have a very mid upgrade with iPadOS 17, we got a very mid Apple Pencil as well. So it's just not a good year for iPads, and no iPad hardware at all. So yeah, this is probably the worst year for iPads in history. Only saving grace kind of is Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro for iPad, which if that was on this list, it would probably be B or A tier. So yeah. And you have the M3 MacBook Pro, not the Pro version of the MacBook Pro. We'll get to that in a little bit. I give this a B tier because it's a decent value, I'd say. Decent value. You can buy the M2 Pro base model MacBook Pro, and I think that's a better deal. And so, yeah, I'd say, but I mean, like, this thing has gotten a lot cheaper, and you can buy this thing now for like $1,400 on third-party sites, and so that's a pretty good deal. And so and considering that you still get that really nice display and the ports and all that stuff, although you're missing one USB-C port, it's a really good upgrade. It's definitely a much better upgrade, much better than the 13-inch MacBook Pro. So yeah, B tier for that. And then you have the M2 Pro, or not M2 Pro, M3 Pro, M3 Max, MacBook Pro, now in space black, which looks really nice. I give this an A tier, A tier for that. M3 Max is a really good upgrade over M2 Max, and so yeah, A tier for M3 Pro, M3 Max, MacBook Pro. And last up is the new iMac. I give this also a B tier, mainly because it's not a big upgrade, but I still really love the design of the iMac, and so yeah, I give it a B tier. So yeah, there you go. That's my tier list for Apple this year. No S tiers this year, because I don't think anything really deserves S tier this year, in my opinion. And so yeah, and yeah, no Vision Pro, because Vision Pro is not out yet, and so yeah, it's not gonna be on this list. Next year though it will. So yeah, that's gonna be the tier list for 2023 for Apple. Download Apple or Basic Apple Guys tier list down below in the description, and let me know what you think of this tier list. What do you change? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you guys later. Bye.